Motivation in motion. Own your moment and get better today.
Old ball coaches have to have a clipboard, and I got a clipboard.
Coach,
come on.
You came in with a whistle hanging out of your pocket.
The silver whistle.
You're not even coaching anymore, right?
Well, but you never. Hey, I'll get their attention when they're loading the bus. Hey,
Can't believe this. Okay.
guys in the. Oh, yeah.
I love it.
They
I love
real
it.
quick. They got the message. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So,
All right. Well, let's get after it. So I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
golly, Mack Butler, from Fairfax, Oklahoma.
Okay.
A former Red Devil. That's that long time ago.
Okay.
But, I'm the retired, and I'm an assistant AD at Stillwater now. They, it's one of those things where you retire a little while, and they ask me if I would help.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Typically when someone says they're retired, they don't follow that up with a titled job. I'm just letting you know. We might need to talk after this. I just might need to help you a little bit with what the word retirement means.
Good point.
Okay, we can
I've been
work
asked
on that.
before, but they also say we didn't think you'd last long.
Now, I will tell you one of the most interesting bios that I've picked up so far during this process. So I would love if you would just kind of walk us through before your retirement.
So now, Todd. So I'm looking at these cameras.
Uh-huh.
But, I'm not one of those guys that get to do this very much, and so I'm excited about John Odell asking me and getting to visit with you. So this is going to be good.
Hey, I knew better. Well, first off, we both know if you know John, be careful picking up the phone. He's going to ask you, right, to do something, maybe make you uncomfortable,
and
right?
I've disappointed him sometimes. That hurts me.
It does.
I'll do my best.
It does. So, I picked up a phone call a few months ago and got the privilege to sit on the couch with people like yourself. So it's just been such an honor that John would ask me to honor his father in some capacity by bringing men and women in that have, impacted me. You've never coached me, but coaches have changed my life. And when he asked me to do that, I was like, this is a no-brainer, right? If this is what God's asking me to do right now, to sit down and listen to men that have been coaching for 51 years and not retired and still have a whistle in their pocket, then sign me up all day. So I would love for for the people that are going to watch this to just kind of walk me through, because there's some great stops along the way from Fairfax.
Got some have some stories, Todd.
Okay, so let's start.
Hey, Fairfax, Oklahoma. I'm the baby of 5 children, and I'm baby meaning I'm also pretty old.
Okay.
But I did the math here this morning. But Daddy died at 99. He was 6 months shy of 100, and he would have been on Sunday. He would have been 120 years old. So I know that he laughs about me, and we kind of all the Butlers got hit pretty hard with the personalities and the voice and the looks and the white hair. You got the white. There's no pigment in my hair. Everybody will talk. Everybody remember Mack always talks about, well, there's just no pigment in my hair, and there wasn't early in my career. But Fairfax, one of the best memories I ever had in Fairfax.
Okay.
I'll stop y'all real quick. I'm sorry. Can we take the intro again just real quick?
Sure.
We just had some movement background. No big deal.
Did I?
It wasn't you.
No.
I hated to stop.
I don't know if I can repeat all.
No, it's fine. It's good. I've now learned this. I'm not a veteran, but I'm not a rookie anymore. So
Okay,
here we go.
You can
I'll walk
edit
you.
if you need.
Oh.
Yeah. Talk about your dad would have been 120.
So we're pausing that. We're gonna.
Right there.
Oh, you want to start at 120?
Start that.
Take up there with all of
Okay, so Dad would have been 120.
Yep. Daddy was 99 when he passed away and was 6 months shy of 100. And on Sunday, he was born in 1903, so I can figure out the Fairfax math here. In 2023, he had been 120 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so one of my best memories, Fairfax, and John Odell, his dad, Fay Odell, came to Fairfax and spoke to the school, and I was a 6th grader, and he was just like, he captured me. I mean, he was dynamic, and he loved God, and he loved the country, and and just to this day, if he was speaking someplace, I'd go and I'd start crying, because I'm just telling you, he was And then my brother had a chance to and I'll tell that story too. So anyway,
Okay.
but that big time, loved, small town America. You play every sport, John's all right. I've talked about that this morning, and I loved it. I loved being around it. I wasn't good now, Todd.
Well, clearly you didn't have any energy.
No.
I mean, you didn't bring any kind of charisma or team dynamic or any of that, right? Like you.
Those people that know
I think
me.
they lied about your age on the bio. I'm going to question. I need to see an ID.
Okay. That little sheet over there talks about, made a comment that the motor's hot. I mean, and it's been that way. And been fortunate to be around coaches and people and the school, and just it just came natural. And I can remember, golly, senior year, late, baseball's over, and there was a coach. He had a John Deere 4020 tractor.
Okay.
And he had those 516 plows. Anyway, so that's what I did. We got out of school, and I went out there, and they'd come and get me. I mean, they'd come and get me right after school, and of course, we needed money in Fairfax. And anyway, so yeah.
Okay.
So I'd worked late until the night, and just loved it, and barely made it to graduation. I mean, so I can remember.
When did you decide you wanted to coach? So you get done with high school, and then your coaching journey for these 51 years is pretty unique.
A lot of that's my brother.
Okay.
My middle brother, Carlaco's passed, but he was my oldest one. Then there's Virginia, and she's 95, and she's still going strong. And David is 85, and he was a coach at Hominy.
Okay.
Fairfax and Hominy, great rivals, and he coached. And when I was sixth, seventh, eighth grade, he'd let me come around and be around, and never forget. I just loved it. I mean, I loved that he coached, and I loved that I got to be a part. And I wasn't afraid, Todd. I wasn't blessed with a lot of fast twitch, but I can remember Mr. Looney, who was my junior high coach, saying to me, you're gonna do something to your head. They didn't talk about it. That was about it. But the only thing I knew was I'd run John and I've talked about it. I'd try to run my hat right through you. Well, you can't talk about that now, but in the world of football, that was the way. So anyway, because of that, I knew I wanted to coach, and I wanted to go get a chance to do something beyond that.
Yeah, but this isn't just like, so it starts in high school, right? Start coaching in high school.
Yep.
But you've been on BCS and possibilities and big Power 5 conferences, and now you're still doing this. So if you could just walk me through just a little bit, give me a little bit of that timeline.
So Fairfax graduated in the spring of '67, went to the University of Central Oklahoma. At that time, it was Central State College.
Yep.
In this city we're in right now, in Wantland Stadium, and I thought I was a basketball player, maybe that I could go play some junior college basketball. Figured out real quick that was not the case for this little guy. And in Fairfax, they called me Mackey because everybody in a small town, the last name ends in an E. Freddie, Mackey, Mikey. It always ended in
Man,
E.
I should have been in a small town. I love that.
So he came to Central. My sister was going to school here, didn't have a car. We didn't have, enough money to Daddy and Mama to have two cars. And so loved my time here. Got to work in the bookstore to make some money, and knew I wanted to coach, and I worked in Fairfax. I worked at the G&G, which was a dry goods store for men and women, and and so I thought, well, maybe I might want to do that, and so had a good time doing that. And then Francis Baxter, who was the tennis coach, he was also the intramural director here at Central State, and we hit it off. Great guy. So I got to be the intramural guy, got to be around it. Phil Ball and Mr. Winters, Mark Winters was the basketball coach, and my gosh, good guys. And so anyway, I did my student teaching.
Okay.
Cashin, Oklahoma, out here.
Yep.
Larry Mantle was the football coach. He was an eight-man school, and just loved it, and knew that after I got to do that, that's what I want. And I did it in the fall because I wanted to be around the football. So graduated. My brother, you're looking for jobs, interview, and so my brother knew the head coach at Stigler,
Okay.
John Gray.
Everybody's going to know where Stigler is.
It's southeastern Oklahoma, down there by Fort Smith.
I'm just kidding. I know where Stigler is.
I mean, Haskell County,
yeah.
Deer Country.
That's right.
So loved it so much, and just so many great memories. And we'll go back. You'll ask questions about some things later on, I'm sure. But I was the junior high coach. I went and scouted. I have to this day now.
Okay.
Todd, John, Calvin. I have tubs and boxes in the attic, and guess what? They're color coded, and I have red tubs. I have purple tubs. That red tub has a bandline turtleneck sweater that we wore at Stigler my first year.
So the colors represent the school colors.
That's it.
Right?
Yep.
I've always thought it was funny. I was actually we were talking about Coach Brent Barnes at UConn and a friend of mine, and we were talking about the color wardrobe that your sweatshirts become, right? When I'm like, let's see, I've gone red, purple, blue, and you kind of look, because to you, I'm not as organized. I don't have a tub, but I've always kept a sweatshirt from where I've coached.
Absolutely.
That was what I did, right? And now it's like a layer cake in the back of the closet. But no, I love that idea.
What needs to happen?
Okay.
You need to have somebody quilt that. Make a quilt out of those hoodies. Cut that front out, and how neat would that be? I mean, down in the future, Mama made quilts. That's another story.
Okay.
Too. So Stigler,
that's a good
Oklahoma,
one. Okay.
I loved it, and John Gray and David McSpadden and Joe Benham and Mr. Ogle was the superintendent, and J.E. Dorse the principal. Great. I mean, it was just a really great experience, and Stigler girls basketball, and had a great time.
Okay.
So there was a job came open. I wanted to, you dream about watching college football, and Thanksgiving, and you've got OU playing Nebraska, and I wanted to. So anyway, heard that there was a job open at McAllister, and that coach was at the OU camp, and so you know what? I just went over there to McAllister, and I found out where he lived, and I parked myself in front of his house. And that was Charlie North, and his wife Sharon came out and says, "What are you doing?" I knocked on the door, and he said, "Well, he's at camp." I sat there all day. It might have disappeared when I went to the restroom, but came back and sat there and finally.
You stalked him. This is the first official stalk
I stalked
that we've heard on the couch.
And because I was a nobody.
I love it.
Well, I was a nobody, and boy, that you talk about, owing people. I owe Charlie North. And boy, close friend now.
So tell me I want to know what the greeting looked like. You're sitting in someone's driveway, going to be like, well, you need to hire me. So what's his reaction to this?
Well, he pulled up in his little blue Datsun truck, and of course, I dress appropriately.
Okay.
And I didn't have my whistle with me then, but yeah. And he's, I don't think Sharon had called or whatever, and at that time we didn't have cell phones, and I said, "Coach, you have a job," and talked to him, and we talked outside, didn't go in, and he took me up to the stadium, showed me around, and he said, "Anybody that wants to be a part of something that bad," he said. So he hired me.
Wow.
Yep.
I love that.
Moved over there. Just 6 years in McAllister. Go ahead.
But don't you think that's an interesting life lesson? That it's funny. So I got my job after my career was over, by showing up outside the door. Just said I would clean equipment, do whatever. And it's so funny. I get an opportunity, as coach, we get to mentor these young men and women that we get to participate in. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is to just get them to show up.
Oh,
your life, because I could do a spoiler alert right now, ends up at a BCS school, right? Because of you sitting in someone's driveway. You could say that God aligned that.
It gives me goosebumps and makes me think of things. And when you get older now, Todd,
I'm old.
Sometimes you cry.
We've cried on this couch a little bit too much. It's actually been it was a little bit of a theme last time I got here. So I'll try to keep them from both.
I owe Charlie. And at McAllister, I was the tennis coach a year, and then I was a track, and I thought, I had at Stigler, I had I got to do the track and got a regional. And we had that old Red Dog Cinder track, and had guys that, boy, Terry Don Fields, he'll remember, could run those hurdles and loved him and qualified. Anyway, loved it.
Yeah.
So, McAllister, I was a track coach and Charlie's assistant and loved it. Boy, just, loved being a part of organization and Charlie was. We talk about pins. Charlie would talk about pins. That's a good pin, And we would literally go places and talk about, so Charlie North, you'll remember those things and just.
Now, where did you follow Charlie to?
Well, we went to camps at OU. And I got to know Coach Proctor and Merv and Coach Switzer and those guys. And here I was. Again, I'm a nobody. But
okay, we can talk about that later, but we'll get there.
Coach Proctor would help me, and because I'm listening. I'm doing whatever he said, and of course my voice carried, and he loves that. And so from McAllister, thought I wanted to be the head coach, and got an opportunity to go to Wilburton and to be the head coach, and just absolutely loved it. Small town America, my kind of kids, and the Wilburton Diggers, and they were, we just got it good. I mean, we had the first All-Stater in 28 years. There, my third year, and Wes Morris, and tell you a story about that real quick because. He was good and a good kid. Got to go to K-State on a football scholarship. Sherwood Taylor, when he was coaching at Kansas State, recruited him and just was outstanding. And, I coached at NEO then later on. Guess what? Wes came to NEO. And then I went to Tulsa, and guess what? Wes got to come to Tulsa and followed me around, and great family anyway. So here, I get a call real quick. I know, get me started now, John.
Listen, no. See, here's the deal. We'll go to production, and they'll take out all the boring parts. So we're okay. Well, you can just do whatever you want.
Well, Wes, went to East Central and graduated, and he went to work for Walmart. He was the troubleshooter store guy. In other words, if there was a store not making it, he would go to that store to find out.
I never heard of Walmart not making it.
Well, that store maybe not quite as well, and he would go and he went everywhere and he would get it, and they loved him. He literally would stay all night to make sure that there wasn't thefts and things walking out and, making sure that it was going. So anyway, got a call from his sister, and he was in Vegas with some guys playing golf, and they went to eat afterwards. Got choked on a piece of steak, and they couldn't save him. They couldn't get it out. So he died at Vegas, and he was just but on that little driver's license it says he's an organ donor. So they kept him alive for 24 hours or so and donated all of his organs to the people in Vegas, these kids. So they had a special from different one. California, he was there, and then his wife was from Chicago. Anyway, so they had one in Oklahoma City.
So you're meeting all the recipients of this.
They weren't there, but I met the families and everything at Oklahoma City. And so, but anyway, it was just special. Cried because that was because his wife, she had a man and a woman walk up to him and walk up to the wife in Vegas and said, you need to know that Wes is alive and an 11-year-old, and he'll be alive for the rest. And so,
what were those qualities that you saw in him coaching him that did this, right? Now you got me all choked up, right? So that's the part that I love, right? Like we're older, and you see it in these kids before they do, right? And you want to hold on. So what was it that was so special? You talked about him as a player before you shared the story. What were those qualities that made him want to give?
So my notes here, Todd.
I love it. I love it.
I love the clipboard.
I like it.
Out there, all you coaches on my clipboard. But he would work, and he was not afraid. He was, in today's world, we talk out there, he was tough. He was literally tough. and it was important to him. And he wasn't afraid to come in and be in the weight room and do those things. And so special, yeah.
Wow.
Yep, love it.
Well, obviously special. Paid it forward to save other lives, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Is that the kid that we sent to Estes Park
Yes.
out of Wilburton?
Yep.
Wow. Another FCA kid.
He was a great kid, and again, he loved it, and so if I had, they gave a little deal at the deal at Oklahoma City, and talk about Wes and what he did, and said he played football at Wilburton for, and he mentions my name, or they mention it in his little bio, and. Pretty special. Yeah.
It's wow. Like you get you see and you hear things. And you've been coaching 51 years.
Not all coach, but
I know, but you've been hold
involved.
on. You still have a whistle and you're still yelling at kids getting off bus. I'm going to say you're a coach for life, okay? So, and we're going to talk retirement when we're done today, okay? I'm going to send you like what Wikipedia says about retirement and see if it's lining up with where you got it. I want people to understand this young man and the impact of how many years later, right? That we're here telling a story about a young man that had a donor on his ID, but it showed character of heart, work ethic that's affecting, I've never met him. It's affecting me. It's still affecting you today. Is it one of the reasons that you still got this fire? Is this, or the Wes's the reason that God wired you with this fire?
I've always, I loved it. I truly, and to this day, that's what this is what I wanted to do. Is I wanted to be in public schools, and I thought I wanted to coach, and maybe all levels, and you get to be around guys like Calvin Miller and those guys that got a chance to play at the highest level, and I wasn't good enough, but I wanted to be able to give something.
Well, let's talk about it. You got to coach at a Power 5 school and then stayed in the Power 5 programs. Now, were you part of the national championship?
So yes.
So at LSU, right?
There's
so the guy from Fairfax eventually.
But they're not. So before we leave.
Okay.
Right, so
I'm jumping ahead because I want to hear. You've already told me that you weren't good enough, and then I know from the story that you get some gold hardware, and I know impacted hundreds of lives along the way, but got to the pinnacle of what we would say as football coaches. You were at the pinnacle of one of the ivory towers in this country.
And getting there, so from Wilburton, in '85, we had. So I need to come back if we have time. I'd like to tell a story about Wilburton.
We got time. I don't know. We might need to ask Calvin. Calvin, how much time do we have? Calvin, are you asleep yet? Are you good?
I can tell that story too.
There is a story that I would like you to, but we'll get there. Okay.
So, but yeah, we at Wilburton, we were playing in a state playoff game. We were playing Hilldale, and I'll try to go as fast as I can. And so back in the day, we practiced something on Thursday, and it trick plays, and it never worked, and it never fails. Yeah. It never worked until the last week, and it worked in practice. We did a little fake fumble rooski there. Center snaps it to the quarterback. It hits his hands. He drops it, rolls back out there, and the guard picks it up and goes around. And it finally worked, Center has to execute. So we're playing in that playoff game, and it's 7-3, and we're playing Hilldale, and I have some good players and played hard. And so here's where he's 5'7" or 8. Kevin McCaslin is his name. So I called a timeout and said, we needed to score. We're down. And I said, to Bill Hope, he's up there. He's an assistant, a good guy. It never fails. So, but those guys, I told the quarterback, called him over. I said, hey, we're gonna run Fumblerooski here.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So he went in. I'm sorry. So he went back in, and he could see him. And those guys raise out of that huddle, look over there at me. everybody disappeared from me. Nobody was around me, okay? We run that play, and dang, it's perfect. And Kevin McCaslin takes off and goes for about a 50-yard touchdown. He could run. And we win the game. But one of my cherished moments, and I still have this VHS tape.
Okay. I love it.
His dad
Okay.
is on that sideline over there. We're shooting from over here. He's standing over on that sideline. You can see him. And all of a sudden, he sees Kevin coming out. And he runs down that sideline with him. One of the greatest moments.
Wow.
To this day, Kevin now, he's not alive. You know, something happened in his career and his life. And anyway, so just love it. And he's always special in those kids. And again, he's not going to play on college on game day or whatever, but that's why football is so important, is that it teaches values. And it's not the guy that's the biggest or the fastest. You know, it's the guy that got heart and that'll do it, and I'll cherish it for the rest of my life. That's why I still have that VHS tape.
I think the emotion that comes out, and I've seen it now. We've had the privilege to interview so many people so far, and what I think I would allow you to say with the passion, it's that fuels the rest, right? And so the part that our players, that maybe your wife or those close to you get to see this side of it, right? That's the beauty, right?
Wow.
When I take those stories home and it's something private that you share, it's not typically 37 to 30 that we're talking about, right?
Right.
We're talking about that moment of that dad and that son that we just got the privilege to be a part of.
Special, I'm just telling you. So,
Right.
So we won, and we went
Okay.
on. I got a chance, and Glenn Wolf at NEO Junior College, national.
Oh, yeah.
And so Dale Patterson and Don Hendricks and those guys were up there. And gosh, here I am. I'm from Fairfax, and I'm at NEO, and they have players that are everywhere. Now, I mean, so that year I had 8 defensive backs that we traveled with. And again, we had the out-of-state rule. And so 7 out of those 8 got Division I scholarships. They were sophomores, and there was one freshman. He got one the next year.
Okay.
He was an All-American. Well, on that team, there was a first-round draft pick corner that went to Georgia, Ben Smith.
Okay.
I mean, we're national champions, 11-0.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Here I am from Fairfax. I mean,
You keep saying that I'm okay with it.
So, just loved it. And here's a story real quick about Ben. First round draft pick, and went to the Philadelphia Eagles, and just, he was a good kid from Georgia, a long ways from home, and and I'll never forget. You can imagine being, and
right.
We won a game there in Miami, and the kids go out and be kids, and so golly, I get a call from Coach Wolf, and something happened, and sure enough, there are 4 or 5 sheriff's cars and police cars. They pull up, and if you've ever been at NEOs, they have a cable, and you don't go on that field until you cross the cable. And when you take that field on top, you're buttoned up and you're ready to hit. I mean, you're going to hit somebody. So anyway, it was a Sunday, and they all got out. They went over and talked to the head coach, and you knew something was up because they're looking at this defensive back group.
Okay.
So they walk over and said, Glenn does, and said, they want to see Ben. Ben walks over there, and in front of 120 or 30 players, they cuff him up and put him in the car and walk him off the field. Now, you talk about setting an example. I mean, telling them that you better practice hard and you better life, because, we're giving you a chance and you may not. They put him in jail.
Wow.
So he'd been to a party. This guy, here's Ben Smith. Everybody knows him and stuff. And so he gave him a necklace or whatever the story was. Well, that's not the story the next morning.
Okay.
He took it.
Okay.
So I'll remember going to the jail and him sitting in there. And he's crying. And here's this guy that can run 4.3, and he said, Coach, I said, so we helped him, and he we got out, and Georgia took him, and rest is story. Story's still not over.
Okay.
So I get a chance. I get to go to Tulsa, and then I'm at Oklahoma State. And
Right.
I'm at Oklahoma State, and I get a call, and it's Ben. Oh, Ben, what? I haven't seen you. One of the things I always did for my junior college players that would go to college, I'd send a dollar bill to them. That I didn't forget. Like, hey, guys, I haven't forgot you, and I understand it's nothing, but here's a dollar just telling you that Coach Butler still remembers you. Okay? So he says, Coach, I said, I can always remember those dollars. You'd send those to Georgia, and those guys would say, what? Who is that guy sending you a dollar bill?
I love it. I love it.
So, anyway, he says, Coach, I'm broke. So here's a guy, first-round draft pick, of course, 1986. He was there, first-round pick in 89. So in 90, they were not making the money they are now, but
it's good money.
Oh yeah, good money. You broke. You get people that want the money that don't care about you.
So I want to ask this: why did he call you?
I think, Coach, you have $1. You think you could get $2? And I didn't have the money. I mean, I wasn't. The times are different now.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I talked to him, and I said, do you have your degree? He says, Coach, I never did get it. And he says, Ben, you got to. So anyway, I had talked to the Georgia coaches, and they were going to. So they got him back there, and so he has got his degree, and he told me, he'd call me back. And so I haven't talked to him in ages. So, but anyway, that was.
I probably think.
Cherished moment.
Well, I would just say, you think it's about the dollar. I think it's about the night you shoe up in his life, right? Right? It's like it's probably more about that event, right? So one of the greatest honors as a coach is the redemption, right?
Oh.
And I always heard this from a smart coach. Now I won't steal it from him, but I have thought about it a lot. Is we give grace, we give grace, we give grace until it hurts everyone else, right? And we'll try to save them when they don't want to save themselves. And I think that's one of my favorite things. So I have a feeling he called you more because you showed up in a jail cell and said, we'll help you, than it was the dollars that you were mailing him. That's what I would say. I would probably say.
Enjoyed it, got a chance. You meet coaches, and then, that freshman that played, his name was Craig Anderson. His nickname was Do Dirty. And literally, he would try to do you dirty. He was tough. Anyway, he went to Tulsa, and guess Coach Rader, who's one of the very best ever, David Rader, and got to go to work at Tulsa and TU and be around those guys, and Do Dirty was there, and Coach Thurman, who you've had,
absolutely,
Chris. And he had recruited him. Of course, we were Coach Proctor's guys, and he knew that, and he was. Craig was coach. I loved him. And anyway, so had a great time at TU. And, and did Chris Thurman talk about the game with the Hail Mary to Chris Penn?
No, no, Chris didn't. Chris went. So he's like you. He's wired with so much passion that I think if his body would still let him, he's still on a sideline. He's still in the game, right? He's still helping from an analytic perspective. But the reality is his mind is still 100 miles an hour. He's still thinking of, he really kind of still trying to stay into that coaching mode. I mean, right? So he brought really the encouragement to the now generation and really shared those stories.
Yep.
The other thing that I thought he brought that was incredible was he brought an opportunity to talk about that it hasn't changed much. We think it's changed, right? We think, and I think, it was funny when we picked this place. You say, okay, we picked the locker room, right? Well, this a friend of mine said, well, was your locker in here? No, Paycom didn't exist when I was a Bronco, and and Chad Richardson's done a whole bunch for this university as an alumni, and it looks different. But when we walked in here, this is what I miss. Right? You miss your teammates. You miss the coach's locker room, even when you move from playing to coaching. So what I see from you and from Chris and why you stay connected, it's those stories, right? It's the stories. It's the Wes. It's Ben. It's the fathers and sons stories. It's so funny when I get together with my colleagues. We don't talk much about the games.
the good times and the bad times.
Absolutely. Own your moment. Own the crap, right? It's like
because they're not all. I mean, everybody knows that, and everybody that plays the game and coaches it knows that not everything is always roses. So get to go to Tulsa and Calvin Miller. My gosh, I'm sure Chris told stories about Calvin and Coach Blankenship. But anyway, so what a great time in that office with those staff meetings with Coach Miller. During the times now, things weren't. I mean, we didn't get paid the same. And Coach Miller would get up in the morning and deliver the Tulsa World and throw that. And Coach Miller will. Here you are coaching at TU and those guys and draft choices, Dennis Byrd and all those guys, and he's delivering papers at 4:00 in the morning to make it.
Yeah.
But again, it shows the work ethic and what he wanted to do. So had a great time, had some great memories.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you because I got to hear this. Okay, because I know you have a sport to go cover this afternoon. All right, you have to be at a sporting event. And it's just so everybody knows, it's summer and it's baseball, and so I love that. So, OSU trajectory, LSU.
Yep.
Why the moment to leave LSU and kind of talk about kind of those transitions of those big programs, right? And I know you're following Les, and
yep.
And you and I both know so much of coaching is the relationship, right? So he gets a promotion and then takes people that he knows can help him at that promotion,
yep.
right?
He was very kind and very appreciative. I'm very appreciative for the opportunity that Les gave me. And we went to LSU, and my goodness, you talk about, they. And I mean this good, but those LSU fans, if they remember, they start getting right on maybe Thursday night. They want to be ready for the game.
I've been to a night game at LSU,
and
it's a cranky. It's cranky before warm up.
And they'll feed anybody that walks by. They're going to feed you, but they're also going to. And guys, the tiger, they bring that tiger right where the visiting team comes out, and the mascot that's there, he can get the tiger to growl. And what? He always shows up in that tiger's in that pen right about when that visiting team comes off, and that tiger, mascot gets that tiger to jump at the cage, and so yeah, it's good stuff. It's big time, and I really enjoyed it. Great time, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Great national championship.
National championship. You say that like the guy from Fairfax again.
Yep.
You're carrying around a national championship
in New Orleans. Les leaves the game. Win the national championship, the Sugar Bowl, and all that stuff. Comes back to the hotel. The hotel's right there on Bourbon Street. He literally walks down Bourbon Street holding that $30,000 crystal ball and the fans from and actually goes up on because everybody got those little porches and all that stuff, and holds that out over the crowd, and
it's interesting the amount of work, right, and the journey to get to that point, right? It goes back to the tractor. Right, right. It's funny. We coach kids and they don't see it. We've lived it. And you're like, I need you to move this from here to here. But coach, it doesn't matter. But here it is all these years later, and a guy from Fairfax, right, is holding a part of a national championship. And so, man, what an honor. Congratulations.
Got those rings, got the NEO one and all those things. It's just so good. And so then Coach Gundy, which, I coached in the 1986 All-State game. And the opposing quarterback was Mike Gundy. And I've always told him, I said, you talk about a disadvantage. His coach was the All-State coach on the other side. His quarterback is the All-State coach, or All-State playing quarterback. And, we didn't win the game, but, here he is. And so that to this day, he called after 2008 season and said, Mack, I need you to come back and help me. And so I'm an Oklahoman, and I love it. And so came back, and the rest of it was history through January of 21.
I saw that.
Yeah, we had some
director of operations.
We
might have won an award for that title.
Yeah, there was some people.
I want to talk about an award actually though. Okay, because I know that your humility, I get it, all that. There's one name that stands out on an award that you won, Merv Johnson.
Yes. Woo.
You want
Big
to talk
time.
about that?
Well, I mean, being in Oklahoma and being a part of, Charlie North taking me up to Norman and working those camps and getting around Merv and Bobby and Charlie and all those guys. And, you learn character. And, I mean, and Merv was such a good guy. Golly, or is such a good guy.
Yep.
And so really an honor. Thurm has that. Calvin has that. Maybe we've been around the right people.
Yeah, it's an award based on integrity and character.
Yep.
And you're not what you did in your career; it's who you are, right? That's what I love about it. When I read about the Merv Johnson Award and the recipients, it's the character that surrounds that, right?
Well, and again, if you're going to make it in this profession, is you better be around good people and be associated with them and understand what it takes. I wrote stuff down here about work. If you're going to be successful, it's not always the first day.
Okay, let's see what you got on that clipboard we haven't covered. I need to see this. I got it. I mean, you're the first person to bring a clipboard and a whistle. So I am officially.
You know what? I need to blow the whistle, and you took it away from me.
I took the whistle away from you, but I do want to go ahead and let everybody know I had a whistle on my keychain too. So I feel special.
Well, I mean, when I see you. When I see UConn this year,
okay,
then I'm going to blow the whistle before the game, and I just let you know, hey, I'm here, Todd.
Okay,
right.
I love it.
But
I love it.
I think that you talk about this and follow your dreams. So to people listening and to that players follow your dreams, but dreams are goals, and we talk about those things, and you've got to. Are you going to reach them all? Golly, maybe not. But you dream about it, and you try to say, okay, I want to be there. And I remember those times that I'm going to be there on a New Year's Day at a bowl game, and I'm going to get to be a part of that.
It's such a special because what our audience doesn't realize is we didn't meet and we didn't prep for this, right? And that was our goal, right? I was a dreamer, but you and I share a quality. We were willing to sit in someone's driveway or sit in front of an opportunity. And what I think is lost on this current generation is I think they've stopped dreaming, which is why I want to do this, is I want them to hear these stories, your story and other great coaches' stories, and say, man, let's dream again. But the key is you did something. You took an actionable item and said, I'm going to go sit in his driveway and get an opportunity that eventually translated to a BCS championship.
It's good.
And so
you said great coach, and I don't want to ever put myself in that position.
Okay.
I'm a coach that worked hard and was but
okay, we're going to work on something together. Okay, since you're still not retired and I'm still coaching, we're going to stay in contact and we're going to do one thing.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not very good at owning any of my successes.
Me too.
I'll own my mistakes. It's actually probably one of my strengths. I'll show up, coach. Yep, I shouldn't have done that. In life, I shouldn't have done that.
Yep.
We're going to work on this before the good Lord takes us home to at least own some of those moments that he's blessed us with.
Yeah.
So a guy that sat on this couch, doesn't know what I'm going through in my life at all, sends me a scripture, 1 Samuel 2:30. And he says, for those that believe in me, I will make it happen for them, right? And And Chuck shared that with me, and he said, Todd, I don't think you believe that. And I thought about that. Now you've sat here and shared, and I'm like, what? Well, but look at all the impact, Coach, that you've had in 51 years, and you're still making it. You're going to go make it today at lunch. You're going to go make it by just showing up and being present. If there's a story that you'd like to share, that you just saw God's faith, either in your life or in the life of a kid you coach, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear that before you leave.
Well, goodness, there's so many good things. I'd be amiss if I don't talk about, when I coached at Tulsa, we were successful, and then we hit some bad times, and we recruited, and there's a couple of kids, one of them, Todd Franz, who's from Weatherford, Oklahoma, and Todd was special, and he got to play in the NFL for 6 different teams, and because he was smart, he could play corner or wherever it was. And to this day, he lives in Oklahoma City, and he's really good. And he worked at it. One of the greatest compliments a player, an athlete could get: noon hoops. So here's Todd. Calvin, you remember, so they were down there playing hoops, and the fellas were playing, right?
Okay.
One of them comes running back up there, and he says, Coach, we got us a ball player. Todd's the first one picked. And so, that says something to everybody in that gym. When you're the first one picked, you're not the little guy, in line. You're the first one picked. That says, Coach, we got us a ball player.
Was there anything about his character or his faith or anything that you that resonated that maybe blessed that 6-stop journey in the NFL?
Oh, to this day, Todd was the guy we're talking about.
Wow.
He would do and say all the right things. And again, I can remember Todd saying, well, Coach, I didn't do very well last weekend or whatever. But, he has that. Tim Tebow has a book, and I read about Tim.
Oh, yeah.
But, Tim said, hey, we're going to get this done. And, I think Todd has that same attitude that I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be about not making it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
And
he's taking his dream, putting it into action, and then putting extreme accountability with it and saying, this is what I'm called to do,
Yep.
right? I always, too, and it would be interesting to interview him to see if he thought it was successful, because I always find that interesting, too, right?
He was special. Again, that's good stuff.
Okay, so are we missing any other things on the clipboard? There's notes all over this. What time is it?
You know what? We already talked about it.
It's
Hard
10
times
right
are
at it.
inevitable. We okay time-wise?
Yeah, let's go for just a second more.
Hard times are inevitable. You got to find a way, because you're going to have hard times, and you've got to fight through them.
Okay.
And
how do they do that, Coach?
Well,
how do they do it?
One, you better have strong beliefs, and in each other and in your life. And again, I told John, I'm not perfect, but you've got to believe that it's going to be tough, and you've got to find a way. And again, that's a belief. That's a belief in somebody else that has a lot greater power than I do. That you'll find a way, and he'll help you find it. May not be the first time.
Wow.
May not be the second time. But if you work at it hard enough and do it, it'll happen.
Yeah, I've always thought, especially today's generation, might be one of the things that they have to fight through is that instantaneous reward, right? I don't know if we were too naive, or I used to always say I was just too dumb to know any different, so I just kept trying until the opportunity presented itself. And I think now it's like you see kids jumping around from school to school and all that, and it's something we've talked about, and it's just like, well, hold on. I could tell you 10 stories in just my short coaching career of when they stuck it out, the reward that they got, whether it be then or the next year or the next year. I've yet to see the true puddle jump really change someone so far. Now, I'm not saying, and I was a transfer kid, so I left one opportunity because that door was clearly not the right one from God, and He opened up another one. That was clear.
Good.
But if that wouldn't have happened, I wasn't going to go somewhere else.
Right.
It was obvious, right? And so what I'd like to say in closing is we're going to work on something together, Coach. We're going to work on owning a few of our successes, okay?
Okay.
God's blessed us with a lot. He blessed us with today, right?
Yes.
And just getting to meet each other. And now in warm up, I'm going to be
You better
hearing.
get ready.
I'm going to be hearing a whistle blow.
You better
It's
get
going to be
ready.
freaking irritating
When-
the tar out of me.
When Stillwater High School was playing
Yeah.
UConn at UConn, what? There's a whistle. Why is the referees aren't out here yet? And I'll literally, you need to tell Coach
I'll
that
let- I'll
now
let-
Coach,
I'll let
understand
Brent
there
know.
may be a whistle blowing here, but now it's not anything. Okay.
I love it. Thank you so much, Coach.
Oh, thank you.
It was a blessing.
Yep.